for some Bruins follows, Murray started his opening takeoff with it. And here's my thought. And Matt Porter wrote something I thought good in the Globe or Boston.com about what was the Bruins' problem. Let me start off by just asking, what was 10,000 feet, the Bruins' problem at the end of that Florida series?
Couldn't score.
Bingo. Very good. Couldn't score. As Matt Porter writes, the Bruins in the regular season ranked 14th in goals per game. Not great. Middle of the pack. Then averaged in the postseason, in the second round, averaged 2.17 goals per game in the second round against the Panthers. They had that 5-goal outburst against Bobrovsky in Game 1, which barely counts, right? But they did. Other than that, Boston capped its most recent playoff run with 2 goals scored or fewer in 8 of its last 9 postseason games. In 8 of its last 9 games, 2 goals or fewer, Maz. That's what happened. Okay. So now they get to free agency. Elias Lindholm's kind of the no-brainer. They need a center. They signed Lindholm, and now you got all this money, and now you have a choice. You can go get a wing out there. There's some scoring wings out there. Or you could have repaid Jake DeBrusk even if you wanted to. But as Matt Porter writes out, Jonathan Marchessault is out there. Tyler Toffoli is out there, both signed. Marchessault signed 5 years, $5.5 million, roughly what Zadorov got. Tyler Toffoli, $6 million per year over 4 years. Again, roughly the same ballpark. You want to go a little bit lower. Anthony Duclair signed with the Islanders, $3.5 million. So some scoring wingers. Instead, they went with Zadorov. And that was a conscious decision. And Sweeney talked about it there. He says, when you go center first, and then you think about the strength of your team, he said that the strength, I think the depth of our defense and the strength of our hockey team, I wanted to continue to make sure we have those foundational pieces in place. He says, I think this group as a whole can tease a little more offense out of it. So he had a choice there, Maz.
He did.
Keep DeBrusk, replace DeBrusk, put that's okay. Lindholm was an automatic. Now you got a choice. Scoring winger or beef on D. And he went for the beef and back as opposed to the scoring winger. How do you feel about that?
So I'm in favor of it. I told you this the other day. I like that. I was more interested in the defensive pickup than I was more interested in Zadorov than I was in Lindholm, because I feel like the Bruins have been way too vulnerable in the postseason when it comes to grinding teams, particularly Florida, who has forechecked the crap out of them, and their defense has ultimately crumbled. And so the point being, they built a defense-oriented team that couldn't hack it in the playoffs when the pressure got more intensified. So to me, they needed to fix that. It's been an ongoing problem for multiple years, not just one. Now, the goal scoring thing is real. I'm not telling you that's not a problem. It is. I just think it's not as simple as adding one winger.
Yeah, because they couldn't keep the puck in the offensive zone due to their defense at times. And look, McAvoy didn't have a good playoffs, but so many times it was going the other way. The defense was okay, but when it came time for the playoffs, they didn't do their job defensively, and the offense really couldn't produce. So I get what he's saying here, and it's flashier to get a winger or someone like Marchessault or Toffoli or someone like that. I get it, but I can understand the methodology here as to why he's going the way he's going.
I'm okay with it too. Frankly, I am. I think maybe one of the more important things in hockey is a big, beefy defense core. And I don't know if Florida totally qualifies, but a lot of the recent champions do. I mean, Tampa had a great, deep, big D core. That's how you lost the Cup Finals in 19. The best player in the game when you want to is Makar, and not that he's big and beefy, but he
controls the game. Yeah,
I just think like that is, to me, I'd rather have a great D-core than a great goalie. I'd rather pay, I'll take it all, obviously. But if I'm talking like having to make a choice in terms of what I'm spending on, I'd rather spend on a big, deep, good defense core than a goalie. So I'm okay with it. But there was definitely a choice. I mean, so what? To tie this in, it frustrates me that they're going to pay a goalie so much. That's why I would also save. I'd save a net and use that up front and fill the need that way, and try and get through with what most teams get through with, which is good but not great goaltending. And you do it by having the best team, and you protect the goalie with good defense and all that sort of stuff. But it is sort of striking, not that I'm any fan of DeBrusk, but DeBruski's a 20-goal scorer. Yes, effing Danton Heinen scored 17 goals last year.
I know.
Van Riemsdyk had 11. Those guys are gone. So you're going to have to, and I did this the other day. I went to draw up the lineup. I'm like, after you get past the fifth guy, it's like, you can put Coyle on that second line center spot. He's better suited for the third line, but that's representative. You can be a, second center. If he plays next to Marchand, if Marchand, Coyle's on your second line, okay, like that, you feel all right with that.
Brad Marchand at center.
Don't do this to me again. And up front, if it's Zacha with Pastrnak and Elias Lindholm, okay. You tell me who plays on that other wing.
Jordan Caron on the right side.
No, he's gone. He's gone. We need someone else on the right side. Or left side. Marchand's right. I can't left, right.
Daniel Paillet on the left side.
Was he a right side or a left side? I can't remember. But they don't have anybody.
These lines are fluid. Thank
you. Which is why Ty Anderson was talking about Merkelov or Lysell having to be that guy. Well, Sweeney could have instead of giving this to Dorov $5.5 million, he could have spent that on a winger. And now you got a top six that makes sense. So was that the right choice? Discuss 617-779-0985. And I love the whole piece about Montgomery. After they lost to the Panthers last year, saying, well, we're trying to win every game 2-1. It's just hard to win every game 2-1. And I'll play the sound coming up. 2 days ago, Sweeney said, well, I don't know. I watched Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. They won 2-1. We're going to have to win some games that way. So there's a little push-pull there with the coach and the GM. And I don't know. I think I might side with the GM on that one.
I do.
Like that other thing, are you going to win 5-4? Like, they're not close to being that. Like, they can't be that. Like, what do you expect? You don't got that kind of talent out there. So they have to win playing the right, quote-unquote, the right way.
I mean, that's my sentiment. And look, just as an example, okay, and I know there are a lot of variables. It's not as simple as one thing. The last time the Bruins won the Cup, Vancouver was the most explosive offensive team in the league. Do you remember how many goals they scored in the final?
Yeah, they got shut out in Game 7.
8. 8 goals in the 7 games.
Oh, God, wow, good. Yeah.
8 goals in the 7 games is what Vancouver scored. So as talented and good as they were, and look, I know Thomas played great, but I don't know. How did you like the Bruins decor back then? Did you feel pretty good about it? Between
big,
Chara,
beefy,
Seidenberg,
engaged.
Boychuk, McQuaid, Ferentz, who played bigger than he is and was a freaking, as you described him, a rabid squirrel.
It was nuts that year.
Right. So the point is, their decor was, I think, the strength of the team. Their foundation of the team was on the decor. And they had arguably the single best defensive pairing in the playoffs out there on the ice for 30 minutes a night in Seidenberg and Chara. They were impenetrable. They were like St. Louis was in 2019. So you'd go in there and you'd get buried. So, to me, and again, I'm not telling you this team can do what the 2011 team did. I'm just telling you that if you don't have that, you're screwed no matter how much you score.